Hello. So today I thought I'd do a very quick video, hopefully 5-10 minutes no longer, to show you how I've created this lovely rusty muslin, seam binding and sari silk ribbon. Obviously I've not created these, I've just rusted them. But you can see the lovely effects we get from the rust on the various items. Now I must say that once you've rusted them and they're completely dry, then I scrunch them up quite a lot because some of the powder, the rusty powder, comes off. I am actually going to possibly hang them on the line just to get rid of any excess powder, just sort of for an hour or so. But the powder does come off. I might try giving them a light wash to see how that affects them, and I'll probably post at the end of the video how that affects the colours and everything. I don't mind if they're in a static piece that's not going to be handled, but if they're going to go in a journal and be tied and untied, I don't want a lot of powder coming off. So you'll see in here, this is the powder that's come off them while I've been sort of scrunching them up. And all I do with that is get a little brush and put it back, well, put it into my little rusting pot. You can see there's quite a lot. That's probably the easiest way of getting it all together. This is an old cake tin, and I just like the look of it. So it's sort of quite inspiring to have the rusty things in amongst the metal, the shiny sort of, I don't know, presume it's aluminium. This is my little rust pot. It's got vinegar and rust powder in. The rust powder is what I've sort of gathered up from projects and just put it in there with the vinegar, and it sits with a cling film lid on it. And I just use it for staining papers like I've shown you before. So we'll get on with this. I'll set these aside and I'll get out the raw ones. So this is what it all looked like before it was rusted. So we've got the muslin. Some people call it cheesecloth. It's usually made for straining cheese. You can get it by the yard or whatever. This is American seam binding. And I tend to scrunch it up because it's very shiny and flat as it comes off the roll. But I like the texture, and it gives you nice bits of rusty, sort of different tones and areas if it's scrunched up. And then we've got the sari silk ribbon. This I think I got from Indigo Blue, but any sari silk ribbon would do. This is sort of a lilac-y grey. There's a bit of pink there on it. I don't know if that's dye or, yeah, it's in there. And again, I just scrunch it up. So I put the whole lot in a little pile in the middle of, this is my rusting tray, plastic rusting tray. So I just dump the whole lot in there into a little nest. Sprinkle over some rusting powder, and I don't really bother if I get lines or whatever because I'm going to scrunch it up. This, I should say, PaperArtsy Rusting Powder. It's absolutely brilliant. It makes rusting so much easier and so much more manageable, and you can sort of not get guaranteed results, but you know that you're going to get something good. You can't say how it's going to react and what you're going to get, but you know you're going to get something good. So I've got my cider vinegar, just in this little bottle, just cheap cider vinegar, and I've just soaked everything with the vinegar, and I'm just mopping up any surplus rusting powder, because I use this tray a lot for rusting. It's got a lot of rust marks, so I can go around and gather up any surplus rust that's about as well. So I'll mix it up. I've got a wet wipe to keep getting the vinegar off my hands. And then I'm going to do what I usually do, which is just put the surplus vinegar and rusting powder into my rust pot. And then I'm just going to go back again and add a little bit more rust powder. And again, just work it into your bundle. You can then open the bundle out a bit more and set it aside to dry. That's basically it. We're just leaving it to do its thing. The ones I showed you dried in possibly about 4 or 5 hours. But ideally just leave them overnight to react and do their thing. So I'll set this aside and I'll show you the results when it's finished. Oh, I ought to say I always wear a mask when I'm working with the rusting powder, because it is a very fine powder and it quite easily gets into the air. So I always wear a mask. Right, so we're back. It's the next morning. This is still a little damp. But that doesn't matter. I can still show you what it looks like. I'll open it out. It's nice and rusty. There's some dark areas where there's more rust, and there's some paler areas where there's less rust. I'm just wondering if I put it on a piece of white card you'd see a little bit better. There we are. So that's the cheesecloth. This is the sari ribbon, which this is dry, and it's gone. The sari ribbon doesn't seem to go as orangey rust, it tends to go darker. Don't know why that is. Maybe it takes more of the metal. But as you can see, it's got some nice rusty marks on it. So, oh yeah, won't do the whole thing. And then we've got the seam binding. Let's get the that's it, that's better. And as you can see, it's got some lovely colour on it. I am going to scrunch it again so that we can get the metal powder off that's lingering on it. So what I'll do now you've seen it when it's just in its raw state, when I've just sort of opened it out, I'll take it and I'll wash it gently just to see what difference that makes, and then we'll come back again. Right, so I've given this a quick wash. I just did it in some warm water with a tiny little bit of shower gel. It just happened to be what I had upstairs at the sink. So the sari ribbon, I flattened it out. isn't normally flat like this. I might iron it or I might scrunch it up again, we'll see, depends on the project. But little scraps of this just as tabs on the edge of pages would be lovely. It's lost all its grey colour and it's got this lovely, hopefully you can see, pale rust with rusty marks. There's a bit more rust there. The seam binding has come out really well. It's got some lovely deep rust marks on it, as well as the paler colour. That's a particularly lovely spot. It looks nice like this scrunched up, just a little bit. Or you can scrunch it a lot more. I could iron it if I wanted, but I like the texture of it being a bit crumpled. And then this is the muslin. It's lovely. It's still got some dark areas and the pale areas, and it's really, really pretty. I'll show you the first set I did, which were in here. This is not washed, so you can see the difference. That's a lot darker. This is darker, and it's lost its background colour quite a lot. It's dull. The washed sari ribbon has got a little bit of a sheen back to it, and then this isn't actually that much different. The unwashed and the washed looks virtually the same. So you can see that I've got a nice little stash of rusty trimmings. And obviously you could do anything you wanted. Natural fibres do tend to take better, but you can do others as well. Just experiment and have fun. So here we are, PaperArtsy Rusting Powder, vinegar, just cider vinegar, and your materials. Quick and easy.